Another big announcement just before we came on the air today, 180,000 metric tons of soybeans just purchased by China, which means that deal is going forward as well. Good news for American farmers. The prices were already up to near 52-week highs. This should only spur on more economic success for America's farmers and America's agricultural sector. More good news, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a president that's 100% focused on making sure that the United States maintains its position as a global leader. Soybeans, agriculture product, and I'm so glad to hear you mention shipbuilding because that's a statistic that I typically use. The United States delivered less than 10 commercial ships last year. Depending on whose numbers you look at, China is somewhere around the 1,000 mark. They're building anywhere from 100 to 600 more ships in a ratio, 600 to 1, more ships than we are. So we've got to have the trade agreements. We've got to have the supply chains. We've got to have the emphasis on rebuilding U.S. manufacturing and industry. Otherwise, the Chinese are going to run away with this. And that's what the president's focused on in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, we need to rebalance things. Of course, Trump is meeting with Xi tomorrow. It'll happen in South Korea. What else would you like to see come out of this? Obviously, here's what the farmers are telling me. Soybean farmers I've talked to the last week. They would like China to buy beans, but they don't want to be beholden to China. So they want other markets. They want biodiesel. They want Japan to buy beans. South Korea, too. I think that only makes sense when you rely on one major customer. If that customer says, yeah, I don't want it this year, it can create havoc in America. And that's true across a lot of economic sectors, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned agriculture. We don't want to be beholden to China. We would love to do trade with them, but that trade has to be fair trade. And we know that China has taken advantage of the situation for decades with agriculture, with a lot of other things. One of the things that I'm most excited about these deals that the president is making is a deal that came out of Malaysia. China controls pretty much the entire global supply of critical minerals and rare earth metals. These are all of the things that go into modern technology. And so the president, as part of that deal with Malaysia, was actually able to secure additional investments and additional supply chains to critical minerals, rare earth metals. Again, these are the things that go into all of our modern technology. If we don't have that and we're, as you said, beholden on China, China can, and they've threatened to do so, they can threaten to cut us off from a lot of those things. Of course, the U.S. has retaliatory measures, but that puts us in a very, very difficult situation in terms of national security, to say nothing of our economy. And so what we really have here is a 1-2 punch. The president is working hard to make sure that we have other sources and other markets for these things that we need. And then in Congress, we are working to make sure that we actually can have the permitting reform to where we can build things in the United States again. It makes no sense to get an additional supply chain for critical minerals and rare earth metals if it's going to take us 10 years to permit the facility that's going to be able to actually build and compete with China in a lot of these high-tech areas.